Chef Weiner. I work for a cafe for years, and I'm Brent.
Yay, Brent! Yay! Yay!
I'm the biggest fan. Chef Weiner is a regular columnist for the Gold Medal Classroom, which is a cafe's online e-newsletter. And Chef is also our ambassador to our secondary audience. He speaks language better than anyone we work with. He also challenges our high school audience to just explore and become better. And so we're married to Chef Weiner. He's married to us, whether he likes it or not. He has been the culinary arts instructor for Job Train, a nonprofit vocational training center located 20 miles south of San Francisco for nearly 11 years. Job Train reaches out to the local communities to provide people with a second and third chance on life. Chef Weiner also teaches for the U.S. Navy. For over 5 years, he has been the author of 50-Minute Classroom, for Cafe's Gold Medal Classroom, which I mentioned. And then before I go on, and I don't want to take up too much time, I don't want to be inappropriate because we're very grateful for Chef Weiner, but I just feel like I could say it on a personal level. Chef Weiner is kind of an imposing figure that helps him with his students, because he does teach prisoners 1 day a week, and he's got some pretty rough life, people who have rough lives as students. He has to teach as well, so he's got to have a presence, and he has to be able to get a point across and be respected.
Being a lunatic is usually what people say.
Chef has a very forceful and intense personality. I was just talking to my good friend Kim Redden about this. Sorry, Kim. What I say, you don't know this about Chef Weiner, but he comes across really strong. And Chef is old school Chef. He's an ACF member. He goes back like some of us do 20, 30 years. But what you don't know is when you get to know Chef Weiner, he just gives. He just gives and gives to a fault. And Chef Weiner, which you never know this until you get to know him, is really one of the highest quality human beings you'll ever meet. And that's why we're so proud to work with him and have him here today. And I think you're going to enjoy him. So without more from me, if you'll just help me in welcoming Chef Weiner.
Yay. All right, I have done 4 roundtables. I've done 4 roundtables for Cafe. I've done 5 roundtables for Cafe, 4 presentations. This is my 4th presentation. The only time I've ever been nervous at a presentation is today. Any guesses why? Why? Because my wife this is the first time my wife has been here. So that's Marie in the second row. Yay! So she is wondering, she hates it when I wear the hat in the house, but I've already explained. See, Fred wears bow ties, I wear hats. So Fred wears bow ties, I wear hats. And so by the way, just a little bit about the jail. I teach 1 day a week in jail. I give everybody knives, 8 to 10 inch chef knives in jail. The knives aren't fastened down to the counter. Do I have any concerns about doing that? Absolutely, positively not. But today with the technology, till Katrina hooked me up in here, I was very petrified about the program. Okay. So you got your crossword puzzles. We can hang on to that for a moment. So I would like to say, and you also have the notes. I would like to say that there's what you're going to see here today has about 12 more slides on than on the notes. I would really like to say that I did that a la Fred to get everybody to pay more attention to the class. But the real reason is I've been traveling since June 1. So I did my presentation and then copied it all because I didn't want to, I did all my copying at work. I wanted to have it all ready to go before I left on May 30th. So of course, what happens? Oh my gosh, I want to add in this and I want to add in that. So if you give me if you want to have the current presentation, give me your email address and I will email it to you later today. Okay, I promise. So I don't teach in how this class came to be is how many of you are high school instructors? Okay, almost everybody. So what happened last year in Utah was people walked up to myself because I write the article 50-Minute Classroom. Everybody's read it, right? Who's read it? Okay, all right, you got to, who else has read it? All right, there we are. Sorry, bad throw. Who else? Okay, so, all right, so I write basically how to teach professional level things in a 50-minute context in high school. But Adam, you don't teach in a 50-minute context. With the level of students I'd have, you definitely teach in a 50-minute context, because if I try and go longer than that, I've lost them all. So I basically do 5 or 6 50-minute sessions in one day. I don't do one 6-hour session, okay? So what happened last year was people said, Mary, Adam, we're high school instructors and there's no really class dedicated to us. There's no class dedicated to us. So that's how this class came to be. Okay. So the first question you got to ask yourself is, what is the purpose of your class? All right. By the way, Katrina, who does the IT for this, didn't know that I could walk around the room with it because I didn't like that mouse, so I could use my wireless mouse and walk around and change it. So I'm really impressed. She's like, 13 years old. She knows all the technology, So come on in. This guy's really crazy, but he's fun. Okay. There's one right up in the front. So, okay, you got to decide, are you a home ec class? And I still think you need to teach all the cooking principles there because the skills need to be taught so that the students can cook healthy, economical meals at home for the rest of their lives and can teach it to their families without using a darn recipe and without having all the ingredients, having to go out shopping every time you open up a new recipe. In vocational level classes, you need to teach these skills. Why? Because the students are going to need them their entire working career. Okay, so students, without cooking principles, students will not really be able to follow recipes. Why? Because the recipes say saute, cream, steam, braise. Well, they don't know what the heck those terms mean. They can't do it. And students won't be able to ever create anything without a recipe with all these ingredients. I love, and I think you should do it too, I will give out recipes to my students, and they're missing at least 1/3 of the ingredients. And they panic. And I say, deal with it. Okay, several years ago, I was asked by the head of the high schools in Arizona to come out and teach their 60 or so food instructors in Arizona. And I did that with them. It's amazing. They freaked out. We don't have bok choy. What do we do? There's no bok choy. I'm looking at the kid, there's 10 pounds of Napa cabbage. Deal with it, okay? Because that's what they're going to have to do at home later in life. That's what they're going to have to deal with professionally. All right. So what principles should be taught? Braising needs to be taught. Saute needs to be taught. Oh, Fred set me up so well, didn't he? How many times did he say saute today? At least 40 or 50. He had no clue what I did not send this to him. He didn't know. I was like, oh, thank you, Fred. You're doing an advertisement for my class. Blanching and parboiling. Steaming. Okay? Grilling, barbecuing, and smoking. We'll talk about how you do that in your class. Everybody's like, oh my God, no, I can't teach smoking in my class. Okay, deep frying and pan frying. Okay, I know. Baking, sweet and savory, roasting, poaching, simmering, and boiling. Boiling is not when they don't hand in the papers on time after that 7-day extension. Combination, which is critical in commercial cooking, by the way, for those of you who couldn't get one down, oh, she got it. It's combination. Okay, and basic sauce making. I threw that in at the end because when I look back at the write-up of the class, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to teach sauces and everything else in here too. Here's how to teach the cooking principles. Don't focus on cooking. Focus on teaching cooking. Okay, last night, for those of you who heard the little introduction about me, one of the things that has kind of made me infamous or famous is I don't teach anybody how to cook. I teach them how to work in a commercial kitchen. Don't focus on cooking. Focus on teaching cooking. Okay, for you high school teachers, what do you worry about when you figure out your lesson plan? What the students can eat at the end of the day, right? Okay, we're going to teach baking. I want to be able to have them eat the chocolate chip cookies. Your job is not to feed them. Your job is not to feed them. What the heck is he talking about? Your job is to teach them how to cook. And guess what? If there's nothing to eat at the end of the day, there's nothing to eat at the end of the day. If they've learned how to make a hollandaise sauce, okay, fine. Unless you've got a course that serves food to guests and customers, okay, a lot of us do, the focus of your teaching should be teaching students how to cook and not primarily worrying about what they're turning out at the end of the class to eat. All right? So braising. I'm going to start with braising. So braising, how I came to write the 50-minute classroom is several years ago, Brett, he's left the room, right, so I can talk about him. Brett calls me up and he says, I've read some articles that you've published in another publication. We'd like you to write the 50-minute classroom designed for high school teachers. I will have no credibility. I am not a high school teacher. Yes, we understand that. Would you please write 3 or 4 articles while we look for a high school teacher to write these things? Okay. Fine, happy to do that. Okay? So I write 3 or 4 articles, and Mary gets in touch with me. She says, your articles are really good. We really like the way you write. You're really fabulous. She says, we'd like to have you do the column perpetually. I said, no, I'm not. She says, no high school teacher I bet has ever been able to figure out how to teach brazing in 50 minutes. Can you please write an article on teaching brazing in 50 minutes? So what was the first thing I said to her? I quit. I quit. You can't do brazing. Okay. So I go home and I tell my wife this, and she says, wow, of course you can do it. If nobody can't do it, you can do it. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So I wrote an article on brazing, and that's how I ended up coming to write the article Forever and Ever and Ever. So there's a challenge. Okay, so the technique in brazing, we all know the technique, right? You season the product, you dredge in the flour. By the way, why do most professional chefs season the flour? Any guesses? Do not. They season the product. They don't worry about seasoning the flour. Any guesses? You throw You throw most of the flour away. Yay! Okay, give her a hand. Come on, yay! You throw most of it away. Flour is cheap, right? Pepper, not so cheap. Okay, so you dredge in the flour. You shake off the excess. Okay, you sear the product. You deglaze the pan. You add in a flavorful liquid, not water, please, not water. You cover the product about halfway, you add some aromatics, you cover it tightly, put it in the oven or on a burner for a long time, right? Right, ossobuco, hours. Chuck roast, my wife's favorite, chuck roast. She does hers for at least 2 or 3 hours, okay? You turn over the product if necessary. How do you braise in 50 minutes? So what do? I go watch a Julia video on brazing. What does Julia braise? Endive. It's not endive, it's endive. Don't ask me why, okay? Well, your high school students and my students, you give them endive, they're going to throw it at you, right? The solution I came up with that made me famous with Mary, Poa sausage or any other firm-cooked sausage, right? Why? Avoid skinless, by the way, they fall apart. They're inexpensive. You don't even have to give 1 per student. You can cut them in half. Each student does a half. She's smiling. She's like, oh my God, this is great, right? Hot dogs! Okay, I'm teaching hot dogs. Oh my gosh, I teach a class on French cooking techniques, and he's teaching braising with hot dogs. Great. Food safety issues are minimized because they're fully cooked. You can easily prepare them in a tight frame. Students aren't afraid to handle them, right? You give them ossobuco. What do most students say? Oh my gosh, what do I do with this lamb shank? You give them a Poa sausage, okay? And it's easily divisible among students, okay? For block periods, you can try chicken drumsticks or uncooked sausages like bratwurst or Italian sausages, all right? Okay, saute is the jump. Okay, I need a volunteer from the audience. Saute French fries to jump. Everybody teaches sauteing right. They teach using what? How do you teach sauteing? Beginning sauteing, how do you teach what? Beans, right? Somebody uses beans. Who uses beans? Okay, just a couple of you. Okay, what do you guys do with teaching saute? How does the rest of you do it? Popcorn. I like popcorn. Anybody else? Do you actually use food to have them start out with? Makes a mess, right? Waste of money. Okay. So there's one of you who has only one person who's got this that has hole punches in the side of it. Who's got the one with the hole punches in the side? Come on up. Yeah, you volunteered. You volunteered. So how I teach sauteing,
Where am I going?
come on up with me. How I teach sauteing is pennies. Would you put all those head side up? Oh, okay. She doesn't trust me to hold it, right? She thinks I'm
I
going
thought you wanted me to.
to. Okay. All right. They're all head side up, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what do most students do when you tell them to saute? What do? They take a spatula and do what? They stir it around. Okay, stop stirring. You're very good. Give her hands to stir that very well. Yay! And they're what? All the pennies are what?
Well, they're still head side up.
They're still head side up. So you explain to them that that's why you don't stir, and you take your pennies and you do this. Now what do you got?
We have 4 that are tail side up.
4 that are tail side up. Now what do I got?
More.
More. Okay, yay! I did it right. Okay. Now, okay, so you teach them that, and of course you explain in sauteing you explain in sauteing that what? You want all the pieces cut relatively small, and you take the ones that are going to take longer to cook, you add those in last. By the way, yes, I did raid my piggy bank to get ready for today's class. So now, of course, the beauty of coins is what? They can see popcorn, beans, that sort of stuff. They can't see that they're flipping over or not. Okay? Now, the other fun thing about this is it makes a tremendous racket. The other day when I was practicing, I scared the heck out of the cat. Okay, it makes a tremendous racket, which of course is fun for the students. But let me give you a word of advice. Do not do this over the burners. If you got open burners, what'll happen? The coins go in the burners and they make a problem, right? Do it over the table. Okay, so now, you're teaching saute, and you teach the students, right, that you lower everything down to the bottom of the pan, right? Lower everything down to the bottom of the pan, and you just flip it back on itself, right? Trick is in the wrist, right? Okay, and if something goes like that, you don't worry about it. Why? Because you're going to pick up the money and put it back in the pan. This is why I don't like teaching with food product, because it makes a mess and it wastes money. You're talking about wasting money, just threw money on the floor. So it's now your turn. Give her a hand. Come on, cheer on. Yay! All right, there we go. Yay! Now, Fred said I should have audience participation, right? So, everybody find one of the 6 saute pans. You can do it in groups. We're going to do this for a few minutes. Everybody find one of the 6 saute pans. We got 3 over there, 3 over there. Try the coins. No fair being on your cell phone. I fry those in my class. I do. You know what my policy is on cell phones? First time, Fred was talking about computers. The 3rd time out, I give them a warning. I fry the cell phone. Deep fried it, tempura bound deep fry it. And you know what they have to do after I fry it? They got to change the oil in the fryer, because I've trashed it because I put in chemicals in it, right? Last time I did it was about 6 years ago. Why? Because the legend still lives. People, my hairdresser's brother's cousin's nephew, was in a class where Chef Adam did this. So, okay. So anyway, all right. So everybody, come on. Everybody up. Everybody up. We got about 6 or 7 minutes. So everybody practice this with the coins. Try them heads up first. Try it out. All right, give it a try. Get those coins flipping. There we go. Yay! She's good. She's good. Give her a hand. Yay! Now, who thinks that's brilliant? Who thinks that's a complete and total waste of time? Come on. Somebody be honest. Who thinks that's a complete and total waste of time? Oh, nobody's on. I got a piece of candy for somebody who's honest. Okay. All right. So, all right. That's my crazy idea of the day. Don't worry, there's no other hands-on part of the show. Okay? All right. Blanching and parboiling. Oh my gosh, we could easily do blanching and parboiling in 50 minutes. Now, let's be honest. How many times do you teach blanching and parboiling in your class?
All the time.
All the time? Who says all the time? Who does it more than once a week? Okay, who does it more than once a month? Who's never done blanching and parboiling at all in their class? Why not?
Haven't done it.
Yeah. Okay, who has not done it ever in their class? Okay. All right. The reason most people I've talked to don't do it is why? Because it usually doesn't create a finished product. Why? Because they're worried about feeding people at the end of the class. Okay, so if you need to feed people at the end of the class, which I said you don't really need to do, okay, now I kind of do, because I got like eight of my students at any one time, half my students at any one time are ankle monitors. Okay, they're released from the jail, they come back, oh man, they want to eat. Okay, believe me. I get people who are in the poverty level, et cetera, but I don't really focus on that. I don't really focus on feeding them. Okay, but so blanching and parboiling, all right, if you are worried about feeding things, here's some things you could do with blanching and parboiling, okay? You can create a vegetable salad and a dressing. Oh, so you're teaching emulsion. You're doing 2 things in one day, teaching the emulsion. You can peel tomatoes. You can make a crudité, which nobody ever eats. Nobody ever eats crudités. You can teach how to make vegetables pretty. Yes, anybody have the broccoli at the omelet at Fridays in the hotel? They don't blanch the broccoli. So it comes in the omelet this very palish green, and it's very, very crunchy. All you need to do to make it pretty and make it less crunchy is just blanch it for a minute, right? I wanted to walk into the kitchen and give a blanching demonstration. Okay? All right? You can make a stir fry. So So you're teaching two things. You do blanching and boiling, and then you're teaching stir fry, which is nothing more than a form of what? Saute, okay? You can make a pasta salad, Asian tikka salad, or tofu salad with blanched vegetables. Peel peaches and slice them and serve them on top of yogurt or ice cream, either warm or cold. By the way, there's a really good grilled too. We're going to get to. You make a pico de gallo, blanched tomatoes and peppers, okay? All right, so here's the thing about how to teach blanching and parboiling. Get your students ready to chill. Okay, so you got to stress ahead of time that the secret of blanching and parboiling is you got to have that ice bath ready. He's shaking his head. He's like, yeah. Because what happens, you tell them that, and what happens? After they take it out of the boiling water, they go, okay, now what I do? Oh, yeah, I chill, right? Yeah. So first you bring the water to a boil, add a little bit of salt. Okay, my wife says I add too much salt. All right, she does, yes. Then again, my friend Chef Aaron says, never mind. Okay, you prepare the ingredients so you, what do the students do? They'll start preparing the ingredients, then try and bring the pot to boil. They think it boils instantly, right? Chill in cold water or running cold water in ice bath and drain and hold the product. Time frames are fast. Mise en place is critical. They better have that ice bath ready to go, okay? My view, the best way to do an ice bath, if you've got it, is put the food in a strainer or a perforated pan and then put it in the ice bath. What do most people do? They put it directly in the ice bath, and then since it's not going to melt in a short period of time in your class, then what? You spend all this wasted time picking the product out of the ice. If it's in a colander or a strainer, what? You just lift it right out. It's all ready to go. And then you shake the strainer, and it's all set. Okay? Okay, steaming. If you ask your students to steam broccoli, what are they going to do?
Put the microwave.
Who said that? I'm giving away my age. I hadn't thought about that. Okay. Most of them are going to what? Dump it into boiling. Well, she's going to say more boiling. Okay. Most of them are going to dump it into boiling water, right? I say make steamed broccoli, and they're going to pour the stuff right into boiling water. That's not steaming. That's what begins with B. Boiling. Okay. Equipment. Everybody thinks to steam you need bamboo baskets, right? Okay. I'm from the West Coast. I'm on the West Coast. I'm from California. You can get them everywhere, every store. Why should you not let your students use bamboo baskets for steaming?
Bacteria.
Who said bacteria? Most you again. You're not heckling me, Sarah. You're supposed to heckle me. Most health departments do not allow commercial establishments to use bamboo because you can't clean it properly. It is okay. But you can buy a steaming basket. You can go to the hotel, restaurant supply stores, and you can buy a steaming rig. Okay. Who has the budget to buy extra stuff for one day of lesson? Anybody in this room got the extra budget to buy stuff for one day of lessons? So here's the trick. Anybody know how you do this? You take a pan, you take a cup, a coffee cup. We all have coffee cups. You put the coffee cup upside down in the pan. You put a plate on top of it. Okay, everybody knows this, right? Am I saying something that people have never heard of? Never heard of it? You put a plate on top of this. You all have plates, you all have coffee cups, right? You put the product you want to steam on top of the plate, and then you cook either with a lid or aluminum foil. You'll never find lids in commercial kitchens. Anybody to guess what we do? We don't have time for aluminum foil. Anybody guess what you do? You take a bowl. Just put a bowl on top of the darn thing, right? Okay? And make sure it's tightly covered. And you season the food. Add a flavorful liquid. Teach your students, you notice repeatedly in this class I've said, use a flavorful liquid, okay? Use a flavorful liquid. Why? Because if you just put something in water or steam with water, you'll have very flavorful water and it saps it out of the food. When in doubt, you could even just take chicken bouillon and put it in the water, okay? I'm not allowed to use alcohol in my class because most of my students are there in some sort of alcohol or drug wrap, okay? So what do most chefs do? They reach for the wine, they reach for the beer, okay? So it forces you to do things. Take water and just add in a little bit of ginger powder or fresh ginger if you got a little bit of lemongrass, a little bit of onions. Do something other than just water. Okay, so we talked about steaming, right? The beauty of using a plate is like if you're steaming something like fish or shrimp or chicken, you get the juices stays on the plate. If you're using a steaming rack, you want to use a steaming rack where you don't want the juices. So for example, pork bun. But the beauty of using the plate is you pull it all out, and if you've done it right, you probably even have your presentation plate all set ready to go, put a little garnish on it, you're done. What's the biggest problem students have with steaming? Overcook it. Steaming is really, you got to teach them steaming is very, very efficient. And how I teach them that is I say, you don't believe how efficient steaming is, turn your oven on to 212 degrees, or 200 degrees, right? Steaming is 212, right? Unless you're in Denver. And I tell them to put your hand in the oven. Don't touch the rack, don't touch the sides. Put your hand in the oven and see how long you can hold it in a 200-degree oven. You can do it a long time, right? They start getting bored, it's so long in there. Then I get a pot steaming. I say, now hold your hand over the pot. See how long you can hold it there. About 5 or 6 seconds. Okay? Shows them steaming is so much more efficient. All right? So that's the sky is the limit, but remember to have uniform size of pieces, right? Okay? They're going to cook better if you put in the same thing to steam as a piece of fish that's this big and a piece of fish that's this big and a piece of fish, little bitty fish like that. They're not going to cook better. Less dense cooks better. Think of fish, not roast beef. The higher the moisture contact works better. Okay? Steaming spaghetti will work, but it's going to take flipping forever. Where, steaming, a mushroom is very, very quickly. Okay, so make sure you have good ventilation or it will look like, it'll look like Niagara Falls in your classroom. All right? Come on, I'm trying to give me some love on that. All right? Okay. I'm trying to be, so make sure you've got ventilation in your classroom. All right. Grilling, barbecuing, and smoking. Okay, for my students, smoking means something very, very different than what we're going to talk about. Teach your students the difference, all right? Grilling. Okay, high heat, fast. It's a product that's placed on the grill directly over the heat source. Barbecuing, food is cooked over hot coals or hot wood. Low temperature, long time, must be smoke. I had to retrain certain people in the room because certain people in the room came from Wisconsin and they thought the idea was barbecuing was that you put barbecue sauce on top of food. If you put barbecue sauce on top of food and you cook it in the oven, it was therefore barbecued. No, that's sauce with, okay. All right. Smoking is either curing or cooking, okay? And the smoke source is usually indirect, usually off on the side, very low time, very low temperature. So how I explain it to my students, is bacon is smoked, it's cured. Pulled pork is smoked and it's cooked. That's how I explain it. By the way, let's get off, I'll do a little tangent because everybody likes when I do tangents, all right? Remember Brett said I was such an intimidating figure? So everybody likes when I do tangents. So by the way, who has problems getting their students to taste new things that they've never heard of? Okay. Who doesn't have problems? Who's not listening to me? Only about a third of the room said they have problems, the rest of the 2/3. Okay. So here's what I did one day. We took pork belly, and I braised the pork belly, okay? And then I cooked it off, sliced it, and cooked it off in a pan. Almost all my students, I'm not going to eat something that dragged off the bottom of a pig. So what did they do the next day? I had all my students make bacon. And when they went ready to eat it, I took it away from the students who refused to taste the pork belly. And they're all getting upset at me. I said, well, you told me you wouldn't eat anything that dragged off the bottom of the pig. What do you think bacon, or at least American bacon, is? Dragged off the bottom of a pig. It's the pork belly that's been smoked. Oh. Okay, so that's one way, devious way of getting them to taste things. Okay. Okay, and all right. So now, I have an 18-year-old son, and if you ever meet him, be very, 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 very careful on how you use these terms. Because, like, for example, we went to a friend's graduation party recently, and they said they were having barbecue, and what's he do? He cuts into it, and he says, this isn't barbecue, there's no smoke ring. He said, or it's not, and he said, well, this is smoke, this is, and he walks over to the host, he said, oh, all they did was add liquid smoke and put it in a pan and braise it. Taste smoky. Nah, it's just liquid smoke. Okay. All right. So here we go. So in the words of Oprah, you go grill. So I only got one laugh on that one. Okay. All right. I got one laugh on that one. All right. You go grill. First thing you do is clean the grill. Okay. Clean the grill. Preheat the grill. All right, you need to do that, probably the preheat, the beginning very cost. Yes, ma'am?
You know, I see a lot of people waiting for the grill to get hot and then they clean it. But you say clean it first.
To be honest, how I clean it, to be real honest, how I clean it after I use it. So it's clean the next time. So the grill's hot. The bottom line is you got to make sure your grill is clean. If it's not clean, it's not going to cook evenly and stuff will stick. So if we use the grill, we clean it afterwards. Why? What's the text phrase? CAYG. Anybody know what CAYG stands for in text phrase? Clean as you go. My students know CAYG. I'll yell out CAYG. Or because there's the movie from Ratatouille where Colette takes, everybody remember Colette? Who remembers Colette from Ratatouille? Colette takes her knife and says, "You keep your station clean or I will." And she pins the knife to the chef coat to the table and she says, "What? I will kill you." So my students all know the text phrase, CAYGOIWKY. Clean as you go or I will kill you. Clean as you go or I will kill you. So we clean the grill at the end of the day, but clean it. To be honest, it's usually easier to clean if it's hot because the stuff does kind of come off. Okay, preheat the grill. Diamonds are what? 1, 2, 3. Diamonds are what? Well, I've been wrong all these years. I've been teaching diamonds are a girl's best friend. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. Diamonds are? A girl's best friend. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. So this relates to, who took the math class yesterday, teaching culinary? One of the hardest things we have now, students don't know how to read a clock like that. So they don't know what 10 and 2 means. You have to explain to them what 10, and before we used to do about driving where you hold the hands on the steering wheel. Well, now in airbags, you hold your 9 and 3. It is amazing to me how hard, how much time I have to explain to where 10 and 2 are. So you teach them to put on the 10 on the one side and on the 2 on the other side when it's done, and then they turn it over. And on the other side of the grill, the left is always the first side, the right is always the secondary side, unless you're doing them all at one time. And you do 10 and 2. The hardest things to teach students is what? Not to do this. I take away the tongs. Now, I will personally turn things on the grill without tongs, but they won't. Okay, they're afraid to do that. I will take things, okay. I take away the tongs, all right? Because otherwise you just end up with a mush. You're looking for beautiful diamond marks. Let me tell you a little secret I tell my class. What does almost every restaurant chef do? They put diamond marks on what? One side. Who said one side? Who she did? Who did? You did? You can get the can. They put diamond marks on one side because nobody ever picks up their steak on the plate and looks at the other side, right? That's what you can always tell when a chef goes out to eat, because they will look on the other side and see if there's diamond marks down there, okay? So, the hardest thing, okay, so things you diamond mark. Yes, you can even diamond mark hot dogs, hamburgers, mushrooms, zucchini, tofu, chicken, etc. Be creative. You don't have to use hot dogs. One of the best things in life that I think is done on a grill is pineapple. Put a little bit of sea salt and a little bit of chili flakes. Man, and it's great. And you're also expanding the taste buds of your students. You're taking something that they normally serve cold as a dessert, and then you're making it into a grilled item. Yes, sir?
We started using thick sliced bologna a couple of years ago.
I love that idea. I love that idea. Why? It's cheap. 2, the students aren't afraid of it. And 3, it's already cooked. So if they don't, I love that idea. I'm going to put that into the next one. Did you ever hear what he said? He said they use thick sliced bologna. Okay, because my students will tell me I'm full of bologna anyway. All right. Bananas, plantains. You don't have to use expensive ingredients here. Endive, lettuce. Good luck trying to get your students to eat grilled lettuce. It's really good, but good luck getting your students to try and eat them. Barbecuing, the bad news, yes, you really, really, really can't do it in class. Why? Because it takes so darn long, okay? But you can teach smoking in class. Okay, so like if you do thin pieces of fish, thin mushrooms, thin onion rings, you can't teach smoking. How you do it, watch them, they'll do it once in a while on Chopped. Okay, and you take a hotel pan or a pan, and you add in wood chips, get that rip-roaring hot so that starts smoking. You put a perforated pan on top and foil it. Anybody know what the problem with this is in a high school context? Smoke alarms, okay? So check out, yes, I have set off smoke alarms in the building. So check what the heck you're doing, what the requirements are there. Please, please, please check that before you do that, okay? I don't want to get a phone call from your principal, Mr. Weiner. Would you please come to my office? You're 6 states over. Please come to my office right now, okay? Deep frying and pan frying. We're talking politically incorrect. I taught for years and years and years as a volunteer instructor for the Navy. And on the Navy ships, the new Navy ships do not have fryers. On the older ones, when they go through retrofits, they yank out the fryers, which I always found kind of humorous. We're worried about the diet and nutrition of the guys and ladies. Most of the crews are usually 50-50. And one time, but to give you an idea, one time I was on a destroyer, and the captain arranged for me to get tours of different parts of the ship by people who were in charge of them. So I get one morning a knock on my door. Chef, Captain Smith has said that I'm going to take you on a tour of the missile room. We have 32 missiles on board. And we leave my little room here, and we walk over here, and we turn here, and right here she opens a door. No more than 6 feet away. And there are 32 missiles. She says, we have 32 in the back and 16 in the front. I said, are any of them nuclear? She says, I'm sorry, your classification doesn't allow me to say that, which to me means they are, right? Okay? But they're worried about her eating French fries. Okay? But she's running back and forth. She's 18 years old, and she services these missiles, okay? All right. Teach the difference between deep frying is fully submersed in oil, battered versus breaded. Apparently, we get to have a contest on that today at lunch. Battered. Okay, like, you take flour, some rice flour, some other substance, you add the liquid in it, right? There's a technique. I gave you articles, by the way. There are articles attached to your little pamphlets, not just my slides. There are articles here on absolutely positively everything we're talking about. So, all right, there's battered, okay, breaded. You're doing it in breadcrumbs, usually into an egg wash first. What's an egg wash? We take the egg and you go into the sink, right? And you put soap on the egg and what's an egg wash? Water and what? Water and egg. Okay, I add salt and pepper to it because, I'm commercial, okay? All right, versus no coating. What's the most popular non-coated item in the fryer in the world? French fries. Who said French fries? You again? Oh, you're hogging it up. Okay, French fries, right? What's the most, by the way, you want to give a pop quiz to your students, see if they're paying attention? What's the most popular vegetable in the world? Potatoes. Potatoes, right? Because the French fries, think about, but no student will ever guess potato. My son will say, that's not a vegetable, it's a starchy vegetable. Oh, it's a vegetable. Okay. All right. Many students confuse pan frying with saute. They'll go to present their food to me. We pan fried this chicken. Was it halfway covered up in oil? No, we just had a little bit of oil on the bottom of the pan, and we made it jump around. Well, then that's not, okay. The most critical part, temperature. Who remembers Emma Lagasse? Okay, anybody besides me old enough to remember Emma Lagasse? Emma Lagasse used to say there's what on all of the stoves? Begins with a K? Knob. Who said knobs? There are knobs on all your stoves. So what happens? Your students will do one of two things. They will turn that fryer on up and they'll get it rip-roaring hot and they don't turn it back down. And when you start seeing smoke coming out, your food is going to taste like Pennzoil. And you're really close to setting the place on fire, okay? Or what they do is the opposite. They get the oil hot. It's supposed to be what temperature for frying, usually? 350 to what? About 350 to what? 375, okay? So what happens is they get it up to 350 and then they add in their chicken or their potatoes or their mushrooms or whatever they're doing. And what happens, the temperature drops and they don't turn it back up. All right? Okay, baking is for cookies. That's not good enough for me. Scones, muffins, quick breads. All right, I won a little award from the avocado board, California Avocado Board, by making avocado scones. And they thought I was going to do it with avocado oil. No, did it with whole avocados. Okay? All right. And then what we do is we serve it as a side dish. It's not a sweet.
I can't use that shot. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then I do this every single year. Okay. The key to teaching the facts of sweet baking, I should have Sarah teach about this class because she knows I'm not a baker. Don't monkey with the science. Okay, and I got to be careful with this because I've been teaching, and we make a lot of bread in my class. Almost every day we make bread. We make bread. And how do I make bread in a 15-minute context? Easy. You divide it into 6 segments. So if like you want to make bread in your class, you mix it and knead it one day, the next day, put it in the refrigerator, the next day, right. You bring it out, divide it out, third day let it rise and bake it up on the 4th day. It'll be absolutely amazing, okay? Don't have to do it all in one day, just have to do it in 50 minutes. Okay, bakers, we talked about calling them formulas. And this is funny, this was a big part of yesterday's class. Measuring and know how to measure what. I had students come to me, they had one heck of an explosion in their baking. Well, they thought that a quarter of a cup was the same thing as a quarter of an ounce. Make sure they know how to measure. Yes, I have an article in there on measuring, how to teach measuring. Okay, preheat the oven. All right, George Carlin. Who remembers George Carlin? Yay, George Carlin fans. George Carlin says you cannot preheat an oven. The oven is either heated or to 350 or it's not heated to 350. There's only 2 states it could be in. Okay, so you can't pre-board the airplane. You can't pre-board the airplane. You're either boarding it or not boarding it. Don't worry, I'm not going to go the rest of that routine. Okay, because for those of you who know that routine knows it gets really dirty really fast. For those of you who know Carlin knows it's going to get dirty really fast. You got to explain to your students what carryover heat is. Okay? Carryover heat. Carryover heat is not when some guy on Sunday night goes up and stands in front of a bar and goes, feelings. Whoa, 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 feelings. That's karaoke, okay? Why do I do that? Because students remember that stuff. Remember I say, remember karaoke heat? Remember me standing there with the tongs singing into my tongs? Okay? I have that all the time. The 2 biggest problems are cookies and eggs. Get the eggs off there, but chef, the eggs right there. Get the eggs off there. They're not there. Get the eggs off. Chef, I don't know what happened. My eggs are horribly overdone. All the water's coming out onto the plate. You know, I squeezed the okay. Get the cookies out of the oven now. Get the scones out of the oven now. Chef, they're not done. Get them out now. But get them out now. Who's had this problem, right? Tell them to take them out. Who has not had the problem with that? I guess would be the bigger question. Okay, got both of you in the back. Whee! All right. So what happens, of course, then what happens, they become burnt. So when they come burnt, they come out, right, they come out burnt, I stand in front of them going, feelings, whoa, whoa. Oh yeah, I forgot the carryover heat. All right, teach them about carryover heat. Convection oven, know how to teach them how. They don't know what those are. Teach them how to do the time, the temperature if you got them. Last year, my wife and I bought a condo in Kauai, a retirement condo in a few years, and I did the first cooking with it a few weeks ago. And I enter into the oven, 350, and I push the convection oven. What does the oven do? It automatically dropped its time down. It automatically dropped its temperature down. I'm waiting for it to remind me to rotate the racks halfway through, okay? So make sure your students, because they don't know what a convection oven is versus a regular oven. You gotta explain these things. It's like Fred saying, we forget. We've been doing them so long we forget. Baking savory. The formulas aren't so critical, but they've got to use your judgment. You got to teach a student, God gave you a brain, for God's sakes, use it. Not all pieces of chicken are the same size. They're going to cook at different times. Okay. All right. In savory baking, what? What's the difference between baking and roasting? Nobody knows, right? What's the difference? You can roast a chicken, you can bake a chicken. The difference is roasting is on a rack, so the air circulates under it, the heat circulates under it. Baking, it's touching the pan. You would bake a cupcake, you would not roast a cupcake. Because you know why I can't roast a cupcake? Because it keeps dripping through those little grids in the bottom of the pan. Okay. All right. Again, preheat the oven, talking about carryover heat. Roasting, it's like savory baking, but the food is on a rack. Okay, for more favorable product, make the rack natural, such as a mirepoix. Okay, stainless steel racks are wonderful, they're great, they're fabulous. I have a bunch of them, I love them, I know how to clean them and everything, but they don't add any flavor to the party. They don't add any flavor to the party. And they also create much more flavorful drippings. And it's also, see, if you had that knife class, and you got all those leftover onions, celeries, and carrots, this gives you a chance to use it, all right? Okay, because before teaching, I was a chef, so I watch my food costs very carefully. I teach my students, what do you call a chef who doesn't watch his food costs? Any guesses? Unemployed. Unemployed. And I always get some smart aleck student who will say, but what about if he owns the business? I said, great, then he's bankrupt and unemployed, okay? All right. poaching, simmering, and boiling. Okay, poaching, I tell them bubbles are like a glass of champagne. Simmering are bubbles in a glass of Pepsi or 7-Up. They actually break the surface and are bigger. Boiling, large bubbles that are rapidly breaking the surface, or when you push the chef and he gets the instructor too darn hard and he gets too darn mad, that's when you see boiling. Gee, we talked about the key is temperature. You got those knobs on there, and you got the flavorful liquid. So products you can teach for poaching, what's the most classic? Eggs. Fish, chicken. Oh, I can't do chicken. Takes too long for my 15-minute context. No, you don't. Saute it and cut it into pieces, or have the students cut into pieces on day 1. They practice their knife skills. On day 2, they can poach it. Potatoes, same thing. You can't poach a whole potato, but if you're going to teach them, make it into pieces. Okay. Sky's the limit. Get your students to think about the structure of the product. The more delicate, like me, I'm delicate. Like me, I'm delicate. Ooh. The more gentle the cooking method, all right? Okay, a combination. A combination is critical in commercial kitchen. You use 2 or more techniques together. For example, you would blanch them, like they should have done with my omelet the other day. They should have blanched the broccoli and then making the omelet, add in the broccoli. Grilled, you could grill it, then finish in the oven. Like that's why, because you put your grill marks on one side and then put all the steaks on and finish them off in the oven. You fry them and finish in the oven. Anybody guess why you would like fry chicken and then finish in the oven? Because if it's a big piece, by the time the inside gets fully cooked, the outside will be burnt to a crisp. Okay? So that's one trick for the onion board if you're going to fry. See, I would challenge them to fry a whole onion at once. And that's how I do it, is I get the coating around the outside nice and brown and then finish in the oven. You thought about that before? No. Okay. Fred said it's okay to embarrass people. Smoked and then finished in the pan, parboiled. Okay, so we got a few minutes left. Why am I teaching basic sauce making in this class? It really isn't a technique, but why? Several things really concern students, right? One of them is, oh my gosh, how to make sauces. So first of all, I take the mystery out of it. I say sauces are nothing more than a flavorful liquid that is seasoned and thickened. That's all it is. The liquid that's been thickened and seasoned. Okay, because ooh la la, if we had Z sauce, they freak out. That's a liquid that's been thickened and seasoned. Oh, I can handle that. Purpose of a sauce is not to cover up bad food. You want to challenge someplace, go into a breakfast place, ask for your chicken fried steak with the sauce on the side. They freak out because they want to cover up all their bad food with the gravy, right? Ask for biscuits and gravy, ask the biscuits on one plate, the gravy on the side. You get a really chance to see if somebody can make a biscuit. Okay, how to thicken the sauce, how and when to add a thickening agent to the liquid. You're going to add it basically towards the end, okay? All right, types of thickening agents, flour, cornstarch, the 2 most common in a commercial kitchen. They're cheap, right? Finishing the sauce, adjusting for taste, reducing it, straining it. One of the things with thickening an agent of a sauce, remember if you're going to add a slurry or a roux, what's a slurry? Is you take that flour and whatever, and you add it. I don't like adding water to it. I like adding the liquid from the sauce. Because if you add water, you're watering it down, right? So I take the liquid from the sauce and I'm adding it that way. Or the roux. It's just 2 things you got to remember. The slurry needs to be at a different temperature. The roux needs to be at a different temperature than the liquid. If the slurry or roux, if the liquid is hot, the slurry or the roux must be at room temperature. Otherwise, you get the L word. The L word is what? Lumps. Okay? If they're both at the same temperature. The other thing that has screwed up so many sauces and gravies of mine, the roux or the slurry does not come to full thickening power until it's nearly back at a boil. So what do your students do? They add in the slurry, they add in the roux. Oh, it's not thickening up yet. They add more, they add more, they add more, they add more. And all of a sudden they don't get starch, they get concrete. He said cement, that's close enough, okay? All right, so they get concrete. So the trick is patience. They got to teach them patience. The mother sauces, got them all down there. Why do you need to teach the mother sauces? If you're not on LinkedIn on Culinary Educators Network, you might want to take a look at it. It's really good. But one of the big conferences is why teach the mother sauces? And the line is most people think like I do because they're going to be asked about them in job interviews. If you got a home ec class, don't worry about it. But this is one of the exceptions if you got, because and I asked friends of mine, why do you ask them about the mother sauces? You're hiring them to work at Bon Appetit Management Company at Google, which has over 1,400 food service workers there. They do over 50,000 meals a day. When was the last time you made any of the other sauces in your kitchens at Bon Appetit at Google? Oh, we don't. Well, then why do you ask them about them in the interview? Oh, because I was asked about it in the interview when I had my first job. Really? So yeah, you have to teach your students because they're going to be asked about them. Okay? Okay, so we talked about that. If you run out of time, make the roux or slurry one day and the sauces the next. All right? We can make the flavorful liquid. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add, I go with the mother sauces
Right.
because I had students, the concept of a sauce, it wasn't there.
Right.
So I went backwards and I took recipes like macaroni and cheese, for example, and I showed them where the bechamel sauce is in the recipe.
I like that. I like that.
Then they started to understand, oh, that's what I might use the sauce for.
Okay, I like that. What's the most popular sauce in the United States? Nope. Tomato sauce. Tomato sauce. And what is ketchup, by the way? Thickened tomato sauce. Okay. All right. You don't have time to make. You don't have time to make stock. Make broth. No time to make broth. Okay. Buy it. Buy stock broth. When in pinch, use water. But guess what? They're not going to really know how to taste. But remember, you're not out trying to feed your students. But it was nice if they know how the sauce is supposed to take. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you a few secrets how to make your life a little bit easier in the 2 minutes I've got before we're out. Copy the handout on sauces in your materials and give it to your students. Let them use that as a guideline, okay? In fact, what the heck? We're going to make your life a little bit easier and cheaper. Don't keep secrets. Copy the handouts and sauces and materials. Give them, heck, give them all the handouts attached. Every month I write the 50-minute classroom. I don't say anything secret that we don't want the students to know, okay? For example, I wrote a 4-part article on how to buy and use knives. And I wrote on top of each one, print this out and give it to your students. Okay, I've got Mary's copyright permission here, okay? I'm writing these articles for you to use in your class. Feel free, a lot of them are there. You can tell when they look like 15-minute classroom. You can tell when they're from another publication. Take a look at them. You have my permission. It's free. Use them. Okay, so now we've got 1 minute to go. So Fred said we're supposed to do a wrap-up. So everybody pull out their crossword puzzle. Everybody pull out their crossword puzzle. We're going to do that in 1 minute. Everybody get ready. Okay, so let's go 4 across. Cooking or curing food using hot or cold smoke is called what? Smoking. All right. Number 6, the food is covered and slowly cooked over ordeal, hot coals, or hardwood as a heat source. Barbecue. Oh, by the way, I didn't say about that. What's the difference between braising and stewing? Size of the piece of meat. It's the only difference. Same technique, okay? All right. 8, cooking food in a pan with only half of the food submerged in a pan at a time in hot oil. Pan fry. 10, French word 2. To jump, saute, where small pieces of food are cooked quickly in a little fat and the food is kept moving in the pan. 12, the food is often first browned in fat, and it should be in fat, like those typos. Then cook tightly, covered in a small amount of liquid at low heat for a lengthy period of time. Braise. Number 1 down. Use 2 or more cooking methods together at the same time. Okay. 2, to cook food in a boiling liquid. Boiling. 3, food is cooked over a boiling liquid. Steaming. 4, usually used for vegetables where foods are cooked in a small amount of fat over high heat without browning. We didn't talk about that today. Anybody know what that is? Sweating. Okay. What's the difference between sweating and saute? Low temperature, long time. If you can hear the onions sizzling in the pan, you are not sweating them, you are sauteing them. Okay? 5, food is cooked on a grill over high heat for a short period of time. Grilling. Wasn't that a song by Michael Jackson? Grilling. Okay, 8, cooking food in a liquid that is below the boiling. Simmering. 9, to cook foods in a moderate oven without moisture. Well, roasting, because only roasting is going to fit there. Okay, 11, to cook with the food thoroughly submerged in hot oil.